After it's completed, I think it will be interesting to think about to spend some time thinking about how differently could we write simulations in cadCAD so that it's easier to implement feedback mechanisms without having to touch so many parts of the code.
Yeah.
What do you mean by feedback? Like knowing which events had happened?
Like right now, we decide we want to try some new thing, right? We think that sentiment can be modeled in a different way. Now we have to change like four policies to get this done, and then we got to keep track of all these changes,
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean what Z says is we have to have this map, right? Like the map where I'm sure you've seen that chart where it's like you know, the behaviors, the mechanisms, and the states, and then like external, internal, and whatever. There's like kind of a 9 squares chart, and
I
then
haven't seen such a chart.
let me grab it. It's like supposed to be the roadmap for managing these things, and like when you're building the simulations, the dream is that you actually have this with you, because it will make it way easier to manage. Like, oh, I need to change something. Okay, I see it's connected to this piece, and that piece. Let me.
Okay, I might need that.
Yeah. I will share screen and show it. Mm, this guy.
Oh, but that's already complex in itself.
Yes, it is. It is complex, but it's the roadmap for the simulation. So it's like it's yeah. But in some ways, it makes it really simple because you can be like, okay, so I want to change the sentiment state. Okay, well that is, or let's say I want to change the oops, the way the way the token lock works. Well, that's going to affect the supply of the token, or that's gonna, or this floating token, that's gonna affect all of these different mechanisms end up talking to the floating token, and then you know how to chase it down when you want to change something.
Okay.
And so the idea is you have the external processes, and then you have the user actions and the design policies, and these are like the behaviors, the idea of it. So you have like who's making the choice, or these are the vesting policy, the labor policy, da da da. And then within these behaviors, they actually start making some changes, and these are the verbs, right? These are the actions. So bond to the bonding curve, withdraw from the bonding curve, pay out for work done, uh, holding tokens for voting. Uh, so these are like the mechanisms, and then these are all the states, and then you just make this map.
And you should keep on like making sure this is up to date, right? When you write the simulation.
Yeah,
And what tool do you use to make this nice graph?
this is Lucidchart. In fact, I can give you the starter of
Yes,
it.
I want this chart in like editable form.
Yeah, I can get that for you right now. The only challenge is uh, you might just have to buy a Lucid Chart thing, and it's like $6 a month or whatever. But we'll pay for it if that's what has to happen.
Hmm.
We could have a shared account.
I have a Lucid account. Oh, but that's the problem. It's in my
I mean, an account that can be used by many people, and
yeah,
so we can share it. We
I
can share
can
them.
we can just let's not tell anyone that this is happening. Oh shit, we're live streaming. Okay. Uh, I swear we won't like, steal from you, Lucid Chart. Um, so here it is. So this guy is editable.
Oh, that's
This streaming is not sponsored by Lucidchart.
Listen, I'm from the States and we do a lot of looting and things like this. It's okay. Lucid Chart's the man. So it's okay. I'm sorry, it's too soon. I shouldn't be saying these things. I'm irreverent. It's a challenge. So yeah, so I can give you this. This is a good starter, although it's definitely not the final one. Let's see. I think that's the best one.
Who made these charts?
Good old Z.
Oh man.
Although, dude, Lucid Chart makes it so easy. I made this one. Ooh. Lucid Chart. Well, when Z starts it, and then you copy paste what he did, and then make your own. It's really easy. Just want to see if there's another version of that that's better. I love these two. This one changed my life. But I think this is the only one. So I'll move this over here. And oh, this is the Giveth too. So I made a token system for Giveth. How do I get out of here? Let me out of here.
So there's no self-hosted version of the Lucid chart.
It's not open source. But I'll get this. Yeah, I mean, I think that will be really helpful for sure. Huh. I used to have like the common stacks. Oh yeah, that's right.
Let me see if I can find a self-hosted version.
And it's worth it just to use Lucid Chart and pay the $6, I promise. And, or use my name and password. That's also a potential.
I mean, I just hate paying monthly for something which I know could just be run on my desktop computer, and I wouldn't have to pay monthly for it.
It's true. It's true. At the same time, Lucid Chart has created something really nice, and it's not the end of the world to give them $6, or like that's what justified me giving them $6. Oh, but man, their freemium version is horrible. You can't copy paste. You have to pay to copy paste.
We remind that this video is not sponsored by Lucidchart.
No. Definitely not.
If they offer us the free access for many users, maybe we can.
We could consider it.
The Common Simulator, sponsored by Lucidchart.
We can talk about Lucidchart every day.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's such an amazing program. Dude, I'm a hype guy. I can do it. I can make people love Lucidchart. Okay, so I'll share
Is
this.
there many people seeing this, or we?
Dude, no one watches this. If they watch this, they have a really sad existence. I'm sorry. If you're watching this, you better be working on this. Like, we're just radically transparent. That's all. Okay, so I will post this in the DDev channel, and Andrew, I'll work with you to get an account set up one way or another. Maybe I have, through my account, I have second access, but either way, we can do this later tonight. Unfortunately, I have a call right after this, so.
Sure.
I guess I just want to give a couple updates. So Danny has made major progress on the rewrite of the narrative, and changed some things, I think, for the better. But it's too bad, honestly. I thought it would have been nice if the narrative would have been just be able to be used as it was, but man, it really didn't make any sense. So I can see
Mhm.
why we had to rewrite it. Why anyone who would want to take it over and have their name behind it would need to rewrite it. So, but we are where we are, and Danny made huge progress on it. She's not going to be able to work on it again until Friday. But if anyone wants to review what is in there now, I think it's at a place where it can handle some comments. So feel free to review. On the illustrations, oh, and Jeff started reviewing it, and Chris is starting to review it as well. So if you guys don't want to reread it, that's fine too. But
Okay.
the Common Stack team is doubling down on the simulator. So Jeff and Chris are gonna like make sure that this narrative gets done in the next 2 weeks. This is the goal.
Okay. So they are working on the narrative, and giving feedback to Nyankat with the illustrations.
Yes.
Or
So
okay.
a lot of the illustrations, that's the next one, is on the illustrations. So we had a little feedback round in the DDev channel. I don't know if you went up on that, Sam, but all the illustrations were pasted in the DDev channel, and we kind of talked about it just as a crew in there. And because there was something kind of wrong with her face, and also like the green just makes the whole thing kind of look moldy, you know? Like, I don't know, there's
Like
something
what?
moldy, moho.
Ah, okay. I
Like,
think so.
yeah,
Okay.
or even polluted. It almost looks like, oh man, this past world, there's like a smog. Like, it's not quite. It didn't work out the way I think we intended it to. So the big request was that Neon. How do you say her name? Neon.
Nyankat.
Neon.
Yeah.
Uh, Neon.
Nyankat.
So the big thing was, hey, the face can be improved. Like there was something wrong with her face, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that the green should just be forgotten. Let's just do normal colors and not try to push the green. I like the plants, and like do it naturally, but the overall like greenness felt forced and made it didn't communicate solar punk. It communicated pollution.
Mm-hmm.
uh, but yeah, um, I haven't heard from Nyan Cat. I pinged her before the call, but I don't imagine she's like watching her
Uh,
Telegram really
I
well.
I talked with her earlier, and she's fine. She, similar to me, had some quarantine issues,
Yeah,
but yeah, she's fine. She's asking about uh, being concrete, to have things clear. What is the concrete feedback, and she can continue working with the illustrations.
cool.
So, and I can also stay in the loop of the illustrations, and I guess that we
I think
can.
I I I think it's good to have you in the loop, but honestly, I feel like it's more important that Danny's in the loop.
Mhm.
since the narrative and the illustrations should really go hand in hand, like, and I guess Jeff maybe, and welcome to the party, Jeff.
Mhm. Okay.
Hey, hey. So Jeff is excited to get this thing out too. We all are. So, and the narrative is he happens to be one hell of a writer. So,
Okay. What do you think? I think that even the narrative is not completely finished, we can begin. I mean, in some way, I would like to have a first version of the simulator soon, as like, even if it's not finished and perfect, and but have something that is working at some point, and I don't know. I think that I can work in the front end part, even if the backend that Andrew is working on is not ready yet, but we can
well, the
add that
nice,
part.
yeah, I mean, the nice thing is that the stuff Andrew is working on is just the graphs, right? Like cadCAD only runs at the end. So we still need a lot of front end work. The
Yeah.
one slow step there for starting the front end would be getting the designs. And honestly, I feel like what would benefit Andrew more than the front end work would just be helping him engineer the final pieces of like putting his cadCAD thing together. If you're looking to put in hours, Sam,
Mhm.
start working collaboratively with Andrew, I think would boost morale in our team as well, because he's just been all by himself for months, like kicking ass, but like grinding. And I'm sure that, I don't know, you can back me up on this, Andrew. Like, I'm sure that you would benefit from having someone to talk through some of this stuff.
Well, yeah, sometimes I'm afraid that maybe I've gone a bit overboard with rewriting everything myself. I tend to do that a lot.
Mhm.
Uh,
Okay, I saw the code, and I feel like I don't know what's going on with the backend part, and it was like I can reread that and see how we can how I can help you. But my idea was like trying to finish. I don't know. My idea was trying to have something that it's concrete, and even if it's not perfect, so later we can add better things or better parts in that thing that it's. I don't know. I would like to have something that we can say that that is the simulator, and it's something that you can interact with.
yeah.
Right? But I understand that we working collaboratively is.
Once Andrew finishes the simulator code, maybe he can then work collaboratively with you on the front end too, and and then it's like this teamwork thing, and there's some like team commitments on it, and it'll I feel like it'll flow a lot better as a dynamic duo than it would as two I want to see it.
Independent.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you can, and then also like we'll catch all the bugs, and I mean, I think Andrew's really close to getting the simulator done, the simulations done, and then that is a clear deliverable, and that will be really nice.
Okay, let's do that for some weeks.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do, I also if it's fine, because in that way I can also work in the conviction voting thing at the same time, because it's not something that uh, because if I go with the front end, it will take my whole time with that, and I also would like to finish the conviction voting part from Aragon. So it's fine. It's fine to be working together, because whatever I can help, and see what we're going. And in, I guess in 2 weeks, if we are done with the backend part, we or I can work in the front end. And the important thing for me is to like close the first version in some way, and then go on, but have something. And also, I think that this is going so long, and in a way that it is changing a lot of times the direction, and but not going to a particular place.
Yeah,
So
I feel that too.
yeah, so I think that yeah, we can stay 2 weeks with the backend, and close the backend, and then the following weeks just have everything closed, but maybe not in the perfect way. That will come later, but at least have something that it's closed enough.
Yeah, and I think the roadmap would benefit from that, because cadCAD is one clear piece. But before you start the front end, it might be good to have a designer just make like a quick one page, like this is what it'll look like, and that's like on our to-do list, and that'll benefit. And also to get the narrative like finally done,
Mhm.
so that there isn't any wasted work on front end where it's like, oh, actually we decided that we need to, you know, like, and just let the narrative finish and put all of our effort into just like the two pieces, CAD and narrative. And and then before the front end starts, we just get a designer to take the common stack mockup that already exists for the website and just throw some pictures and text, and so that we have a layout that you can work with.
Okay. Okay. Can we do it in parallel? I
All three
mean,
of those things can happen in parallel for sure.
starting from next week to have the designer working on that.
Yeah, I don't think that's hard. It's really one page. It's
One page that it's long, and with illustrations and the text,
yeah,
and
but
see
they
how.
don't. I don't think they need to. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they need to put all of the illustrations and all of the text in the mockup. They just need to put a picture, some text, a picture, and like what's the header look like, what's the footer look like,
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
and
sure.
then what's it look like on mobile, what's it look like on desktop, and then because it's just this swipe and then some clicking, like it's the never-ending swipe. I think that they can keep it simple and just have something for you guys to build.
Yeah. Do you think that Max could be interested?
I don't. He is not. He is not interested.
I would suggest Fiore, who is working with us in the conviction voting,
Okay.
or even Javier, who is the designer of Outark.
Okay.
That could be interested too. I can ask them both and see
That
who.
would be amazing. And we have some mock-ups, some Figmas already that for the for the front for the Common Stack website, and it's just like taking that and tweaking it a little bit. It shouldn't be so bad.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Okay.
that it fits well to have the illustration of the text, and something that, yeah,
Yeah.
Spark said some time ago.
Yeah. Hey, Danny.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, Danny.
Hi.
Well, since Danny and Jeff are here, maybe we should transition to the narrative. Well, or did you guys have any other points on the topics that we were just discussing? Okay, cool. So then let's chat narrative and keep it for Danny and Jeff and before we go into any more dev stuff. So yeah, so how far did you end up getting, Danny?
I got at least the rough outline of each section in. I still want to go back and the things I still have to do might be easier to explain.
Yeah.
I still want to go into the battery analogy. I spent a fair bit of time looking at what had been written previously, what we've rewritten, and then the possibility of just giving an actual example like we talked about last night. So just saying this person has this amount of tokens, they put it in at this point, this is what happens, then this person. So I think that's probably still the way I want to go, but I haven't written that in yet.
Nice.
The ending, I kind of roughed it out, but would like to finish up the language on that part. And
You
then
mean
the
like
other,
the high scores of the ending or the
yeah, so the thing that I put in is whether we can have the sort of, if there's certain criteria, like success criteria that the user has, so that when they reach a certain point and Nick puts in all of the parameters, the math is thinking, then when the results come back, I feel like it would be awesome if there's 2 different results page that might show if the success criteria are met, then suddenly you're back in the future and it's verdant and green and the planet was saved.
yeah.
And then the alternate ending, if you don't reach certain criteria for success, you're still there on Earth. You didn't accomplish the mission. You got to go back and do it again.
Love it. Yeah, and so talking with Max on the game theory design is that and also to have the learning exercise, it's that when they get the cadCAD results, they will see the graphs, and then they have to decide if they think this is good enough, right? So they'll see the graphs, have to interpret the graphs, and then click yes or no, I want to go back and change something.
Okay.
And then if they click yes, then they have that double ending. Oh yes, you made the top 10 score list. And
right.
And now you have completed it. Oh, oops, fail. You're stuck on Earth. Okay, well, you fucked up. Do you want to use one of the top 10 scores as
As a baseline to start from?
Yeah, and to see how these guys did it and see if you can improve on it. And then maybe the game becomes, if you did a better job, if you click a top 10 score, you have to beat that score or you fail,
Right.
And yeah.
Okay, that helps. So I'm going to work on that. The other thing I didn't really redo yet is the new members buying tokens, because I felt like I was hearing question about whether we actually need to include that.
We only need to include the fact that the price can go up. We need to somehow say the price goes up, the price goes down, and this is why. So we do need that information. We can avoid talking about a bonding curve, which is kind of crazy, but it's probably for the best to just like pretend the bonding curve isn't there.
Okay.
And the next one, in the next leap, we will go deep dive into the bonding curve.
Right. All right, so that's really what I have left to work on. I feel like by this weekend, I'd like to stop working on writing the narrative at all and focus on working on getting the illustrations complete. Because once we have those illustrations in the proposal titles, that will help remove a lot of text out and make it shorter.
Jeff, did you have any thoughts on this?
That sounds like a good next steps. I'm looking at under illustration 13, and so you mentioned that you put in some Oh, okay. So you put in a bunch under illustration 14.
Correct, selling tokens in the exit tribute.
Cool. So I'm just wondering where my I guess assistance at editing, commenting, or adding in additional content would be most useful in your opinion, Danny. Should I put in some stuff under illustration 13 and then do some editing on 14 as well?
That would be great. And also illustration 11, the how many weeks to 80% voting power. I did some more work on that one last night, and the one before it, the conviction voting, max amount of funding pool, illustration 10.
Cool. So I will give another read through 10, 11, 10 to 14, which I think was the focus from yesterday of next steps. So that's great. And then, yeah, I like the thoughts about the leaderboard and being able to improve on existing or high scores. So I guess that's a bit of writing after, or illustration 15. This is where we kind of need to put in the narrative around, I guess this is kind of like the results. We need kind of like a choose your own adventure, 3 or multiple outcomes, right? One is like, oh, success, you know, this has gone well and you're receiving continuous funding and proposals are passing. And then we need an alternative scenario where it's like, oh, the parameters you chose, or well, however you phrase it, are, you know, not sufficient for supporting your community. So I guess we kind of need like a success scenario and a not success scenario. Is that right, Griff?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
exactly.
we can do 2
and
options
you'll see
in 15.
Yeah, you'll see I just roughed that out down page 11, I think, under screen 6, CAD results.
Oh yeah, okay, cool.
Okay.
From
Awesome.
the simulation point of view, we will know if it's a success scenario or not.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're going to need to actually figure out a way to quantify the 2 graphs that come out, the price graph and the funding pool graph, and actually create metrics that say, oh yeah, this is a good result and this is a bad result. And here's the 1 score. And then we'll, yeah.
Mac was saying that it's the user who defines if they have achieved a good result or not, and only when they click send to the scores, he or she says if it was a good result or not.
Well, so yes, they have to see the graphs. They don't know the score when they see the graphs.
Okay.
But after they say, actually, yes, this, because like if they look at a graph that looks like this, right? This is a bad funding pool graph.
Yeah, sure.
You know, like this is really bad. And if they're like, yeah, this is great, click, then they need to be like told, actually, it wasn't. You gotta, and we need to somehow figure out how to quantify this score. And I think that there's a few metrics that we could use: number of proposals passed, you know, did the funding pool go up and down in funds?
Right? We will have that score for sure.
Yeah.
I am just asking when we will show that it's a good or a bad result.
After they see the graphs and click it, yes or no.
Okay.
I think it's more instructive to have examples and explanation and context about why. Okay, instead of like telling the computer to somehow figure out whether a graph is good or not, we should give examples of what is good and what is bad and explanation of why, so that the human learns better like that, instead of having a computer algorithm which may or may not be accurate in determining whether a graph is a good graph or not.
Yeah, and so like if they say it's good and it ends up not being good, then in that page we should probably show them what a good graph looks like, what a bad graph looks like, and explain to them the metrics that we're using to determine if it's good or bad.
Yeah, so there will be explanations of good and bad examples, right?
I think that's a really good point. I mean, we didn't have that before, but I think that you're right that we should do it, but we should do it on the fail screen. You know, it's because you learn a lot more if you fail. You know,
Okay.
because also like there's this like, oh, did I do it? Is this good enough? And you
I
have to
mean,
think.
but there are many modes of failing, and if they all take me to the same explanation page, that doesn't really help so much because that doesn't really help so much. Okay, look, if there is an error page, and the only way to get there is by clicking through all these things which make me fail, um, then and there's only one such explanation page, then it's kind of silly. But if there is a separate page which I can open up and reference and calibrate myself to as I work through the thing, and I don't have to purposely make myself fail in order to reach just one silly little explanation page, then that would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we could also have the explanation page be somewhere else. You know, it's you don't want it to get in the way of the game, though, right? Like,
So isn't this a good opportunity for the waiting while the math is calculating? I mean, that's that's pretty typical and expected that while you're waiting, there's little samples that come up that you click through, like 5 different examples. Which one will yours look like? And then once it's calculated and you get them, maybe there's a way you can click on something to bring those back if you want to look at them again. As one thought I have. And the other one is, you know, in Pac-Man, for example, there's games that you want to get to a certain level where something cool happens. So most or many of the times people go through this game, they're probably going to get to that game, you know, start over page. But when somebody rocks it, what do they get? Like you kind of want to have something that happens when you nail it. That's really awesome. I don't know.
yeah, I mean that could be like maybe the waiting page shows the best score, the top score, right? These are the graphs from the top score, and this is the person you got to beat. And guess what? Their name is Sem. He's a hero. Don't you want to be like Sem? You know? And then it's like, hell yeah. Well, it'll probably be Andrew because he probably will put some little Easter egg that like nails the conviction voting like graph, right?
Well, I think that it's still early to see what that waiting screen will look like, because we still don't know if it's going to take a long time or not. And when we have that first version, and because right now, as we think it of, it's like something that distracts the user until the results are done, and we don't know yet if it's going to be enough time to show some phrases on what a commons is or whatever. I mean, we could put phrases there or concepts or whatever, meanwhile the calculation is going on, or we can have something more elaborated. But the time that there is there, it's still undefined. So
That's a good point. And it could stay out of scope for the narrative for now. I mean, in the end, I love that what you did, Danny. Just get to the end and get something, you know, and then let's go, you know, with whatever narrative we have, and get the illustrations going, because then when the illustrations comes in, we will revise the narrative again. There's just no way around it. The final illustrations will require narrative revising. So just how it is.
this is why I also would like to work on the simulation in parallel, and in actually it's the simulation, to see if it has sense as we are working in the narrative and in the conviction voting to see if everything has sense too, because the simulations can be saying things that then doesn't match with what we are thinking right now.
Yeah.
About what is going on.
Yeah, I mean, luckily there's so many parameters that need to be tweaked that once we get a simulation out, we can make sure that, I mean, there's going to be, once we get the simulation done, there's so much work. But I think that work, we can get a lot of people to have fun with. I think a lot of people would like to have fun with that work, like working with a finished cadCAD sim and tweaking it so that it fits with what we need. I don't know. That sounds fun to me, but we'll see.
Okay, let's see how we can advance with all that.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Well then, is there any other topics you guys want to cover? We could always end early too. Andrew.
I think I've got my next steps. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's good. You got your next steps. Danny, I think you know your next steps.
Yep.
Andrew, if you wanted, I know you had like an issue with these participants. Maybe actually, since we have Jeff here, maybe, I don't know, Jeff, are you pretty familiar with the conviction voting simulation?
Yeah, actually, I've been following a lot of your posts and questions in the cadCAD channel, and I mean Zargam is definitely the most familiar with the model, but I've probably gone through it, a number of times. So actually, and I know I still have a message in draft to you, Andrew, because I'm looking to get into some of these, like adding documentation to the models as well. I think that's super useful for the Conviction 3 notebook. Also, I think just adding the documentation and the narrative around the assumptions being made will be so super helpful. Like your notebook is already so much more useful for an end user or someone who's trying to understand what's going on in these. And I think that's something we should do to all our notebooks. So yeah, I would love to have maybe a breakout call with you, or if there's any specific questions, we can go through any right now, or we can do another session just walking through, because I might need a bit of DevOps help just getting set up in adding stuff to those, because I don't have a ton of GitHub experience and dev experience. But yeah, if there's any questions about the specific modeling assumptions made, I can do my best to answer.
And if you want to do commenting, dude, I can show you how to do commenting and make that really easy for you, because I'm also, awesome. I had to figure that shit out on my own in a way that made sense without fucking terminal. All you devs, terminal. But Andrew, you said you had a specific issue about these participants. Is there a way you could share your screen and?
Okay. Let me. Wait.
I also have the notebook up if you just want to refer to a line number.
Yes, I just want to refer to a line number. It's called Participants' Decisions.
Is that?
It's in Conviction System Logic 3.py.
Conviction System Logic. Okay.
Yeah,
it's a conviction helpers. Go back.
If anyone has a link to this, that might help.
Conviction System Logic 2, or no, Conviction System Logic.py.
Yeah, Conviction System Logic 3.
Oh, 3.
And it is line 458, Participants' Decisions.
Okay, I'll drop you a link in 1 sec here, Griff. 458. Here you go, Griff. I'll drop it in the Zoom chat. So, participants' decisions. Okay. So we've got networks, participants, proposals.
It looks like it looks like a policy, right? A
Yeah,
CAD.
but I don't know what's this social affinity booster, how exactly it works, and the delta holdings. It seems like people will buy in automatically when they want to do something, which is not a safe assumption. Something like that.
So this goes back to the questions. I think you posted them yesterday in the cadCAD channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
About the booster. And the sentiment. Okay, so that if the participant has a high sentiment, he will buy in order to vote on a proposal. So the sentiment, yeah, sentiment is their private belief of the of the impact of the project. So I suppose if sentiment is higher, then the assumption is they will be more willing to put in funds and vote on that proposal. Now, yeah, you're right. There is some assumption there that they are willing to put more money down as opposed to just voting with the funds that they have. Is that the question primarily? Like, how do we know that they're willing to put funds
Yes,
down?
that, and also how does social affinity booster work, and what is the boost for? What does it do? How does it?
Right. Was
Well,
the social affinity boost was in a different, it was in conviction helpers, right?
yeah, well, line 164 on helpers.
Yeah, 168. I'll drop that link
Oh
in
yeah,
here too.
I'm in a slightly different version, I think.
My Python is pretty rusty, but luckily I do have some coding history, so I can bumble through, and I definitely need to learn a bit more Python to grasp the details in here. So influence.
It takes the influences between participants, and then it looks for the holdings of each participant.
So if the sum of all influence is greater than 0, then the boost is the sum of the tokens times influence over total influence times total tokens. I tokens is total tokens?
No, it's this particular participant's tokens, I think.
The tokens of all participants.
Okay. So it's an influence sum is the sum of a particular participant across all.
So basically they're being influenced by what everyone else is doing, and it looks like there's some kind of influence array, kind of like a sentiment array or an affinity array between every token holder, and there must be some assignment of influence that different token holders have over each token holder. So it's like, as a token holder, I might have a lot of influence. When Jeff says something, I'm influenced.
Right.
And so if what he
Right. So I guess there's two graphs on top of each other. So there's the graph of all participants, and the edges between each participant is influence, and that could be I suppose positive, negative, or 0. But you assume that there are some social dynamics. So for example, like in the Gitcoin grants round, my first question is like, hey Griff, what are you supporting? And then he gives me a list of all the proposals that he likes, and that has some influence on me because I, know that Griff has, a lot of knowledge in the space. So this is kind of, I think, mapping the influence between participants. The graph of proposals, the edges between them are conflict, right? So there may be two proposals that are doing almost the same thing. So that conflict, it may be 0, it may be 100%. You know, if there are two identical proposals by different groups that are put forward, then there's varying levels of conflict between proposals. So I'm not sure if that was clearly explained, but maybe you already understood that part. I just wanted to go through, yeah, there's the participant graph and the proposal graph. And between the participants, it's influence, between the proposals, it's conflict.
Yeah, it's funny. There's this like initial social network, and this is where the influence, it looks like it is initiated.
Yeah, and I suppose that is some kind of randomized.
I tried to look up this RVS thing.
Yeah.
I imagine it's a sort of Gaussian distribution, which you can like bias around a specific number, but it doesn't. I mean, RVS seems to be something different, and well, I just passed by it for now because it's not really important to know what it is.
Yeah, just yeah, there might be a lot of hand waving here, man.
This is actually great because I can jot down a note of these things that we're not totally clear on, and then whenever I'm like chatting with Z, I can just say, hey, what is, you know, this RVS? A lot of it is, yeah, determining the appropriate way, like, you know, the appropriate way to randomize these initial conditions that may be a little bit obscure. So I can definitely jot down a few of those and
yeah, thanks.
Get some. Let me just grab my notebook. I'll make a quick note.
Yeah, well, we're hitting the hour, so I'm sad that we didn't get this final answer, but it's good to see where you're getting stuck. I don't know, Andrew, do you have any last thoughts on this?
Yeah, I would like to schedule a call with Jeff later, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, no, that sounds great. I've got a bit of a backlog of Telegram messages, and yours is in the queue, so I'll respond to you there, and we can find a time to sit down and go through this. And Griff, if you've got any tips on editing or commenting on docs, I would love those as well. Maybe we can chat about that at some point. I want to get some of these articles and the narrative for the simulator wrapped up before jumping into the Python stuff, but it's definitely on my list.
Yeah, anytime. Oh. Hi, Ryan. Welcome to the party. And then Andrew and Sam, did you guys want to set up a coordination for double timing on some of the?
I think that we can go with the call with Jeff and see how we can close that part of the code, or is something else that we can do. Andrew.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
On my side, I will contact some designers and see how can we move that part from there. In parallel, we finish with the backend part, and I think that we can have it soon.
Okay, cool. Very cool. Okay, well then, thank you guys. Ryan, did you just came in just as we're ending this call? I don't know if you had anything to jump in on say. Welcome.
No, I was just trying to catch up on what's going on here. I'm glad I at least caught like a few minutes of it.
Yeah, and this call is actually on YouTube. If you want to zoom through it, you can. Basically, we're mostly working on the narrative piece of this doc, and that's linked in the Telegram chat. And then we're working on the cadCAD piece and piecing it together. And you're more than welcome to either just ask any questions in the CSD Dev Telegram channel, or I recorded this call, so I'll paste the recording here. Well, thank you guys, and we'll talk next week, huh? And in between.
Okay.
Sounds great.
And keep me in the loop if you are having a call.
Sure. Yeah, I I will send that message to, maybe I'll even put it in the simulation channel, just so we all have it on the docket. Cool.
Great.
Nice, nice beard, by the way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love the quarantine beard.